connection Q&A where everyone's getting a chance to ask their questions and just build and collaborate. So that's what we've been doing for the last few weeks. Tonight, our subject is embodied leadership, and we are going to be speaking with our wonderful friend Deidre, who is here. Say hi, everyone. Hi, Deidre. It's so nice to see you. We haven't seen you in quite a while, so it's so fun to get to tune in with you. We call her Dee, so if I say Dee, that's who I'm talking about. So Dee has some amazing stuff to share with you about where she's coming from on the subject of embodied leadership, how you can really bring that into any work that you're doing. And then she's also got some wonderful workshops and ways to support you if you want to kind of bring that concept into your life more fully and step in with that to a greater extent, which is really fun, especially starting off 2013, haha, 10 years in the past, 2023, woohoo, starting off with some great intentions and goal setting and just really being able to line ourselves up for our best ever year. So that's what we're up to here. And so we're going to start off with just a little quick hello from Dee. She's going to say what she's up to, a little intro about herself, and then we're going to get on into a little Q&A if people have questions right away that they want to ask her. And if we don't have direct questions yet, we'll just get into some conversations about that. Please, anytime, feel free to jump in, raise your hand if you have a question, or you can use the raise your hand icon as well, and we will call on you. And everyone tuning in live, you can also send us your questions and we'll get those answered as well. So thank you everyone for being here, and thank you Dee, and hello.
And I added in the Zoom link because for whatever reason some people can't see us. Okay. So just
Shine and Crystal, I wonder if you guys have a camera cover, like, because I have one.
We don't.
None of us can see you, Crystal and Shine.
Oh, yeah, no one can see us.
Just log out of this one and join that Zoom link.
I just did my
So we should all leave. We should all go to Zoom then.
I think so. Yeah.
I'm on Zoom. Are you? But Shine and Crystal.
Okay, so everyone. Okay, now we are back. Now everyone can see everyone. We'll see how the recording works and if the recording could actually see us or not as well. So thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. What an exciting group we have here. Oh, look, there's 2 windows of us. Isn't that fun? We're listening to ourselves, apparently. So we had got to getting excited and ready to hear from Deidre, and she's going to say a little hello. She's our special guest for tonight, and she's going to say a little hello, share what she's up to and what makes her awesome.
Amazing. Well, thanks so much for having this space and for the invitation. And my apologies, I'm being a little bit late today because of the technology is not always on our side. So I just want to share a little story, actually. So about 7 years ago, I was standing in my kitchen and I was putting my fingers through my hair. I've always had really long mermaid hair that goes down to my hips, and I grew up with 2 older brothers, so it was like a big part of my identity, right? Of being a woman, a girl in my family. And so 7 years ago, I'm putting my fingers through my hair and I realized that something feels off. And so I run to the bathroom, I grab my phone, I put it on camera mode, and I start angling it up at the back of my head, trying to figure out what is going on here. I'm like, oh my gosh, I have a bald spot and it's this big. It's a couple inches in a big circle on the top of my head. And I was just like, what's going on here? How do I fix it? Clearly the universe is trying to tell me something, right? Because it's going after my hair. So I go back down to my kitchen, I sit down for a moment to ground, and that's when I hear this voice come out of me and say, if you don't listen to your soul, you're going to manifest cancer and die within the year. Then I have a flashback to the only other time in my life at this point I had ever heard a voice come out of me. And it was about 5 years prior. I was outside, beautiful setting, overlooking the water. I had pink roses in my hands, and I was in my wedding gown, and I was walking down the aisle so excited to marry the man that I think I'm going to spend the rest of my life with. And right before getting to him, this same voice says, this just isn't going to work.
Wow.
And I was like, nope, shoved it down, didn't know what it was. I was doing all the things that I thought I should be doing in my life. And I really thought I was happy. I really thought I was on the right path. So I was like, nope. And I said, I do. Now I'm sitting at my kitchen table after that flashback, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I have 4 different autoimmune diseases that the doctors can't help me with. I have chronic pain in my neck and shoulders, that to the point where my massage therapist actually fired me. I didn't know they could do that, but they can. Apparently, she's just like, I can't help you anymore. And I had food allergies, I had anxiety all the time, and I had depression to the point of wanting to end my life. But here's the thing, from the outside looking in, I was in a space of leadership. People were coming to me for advice. People thought I was the happiest person in the room, but this was all bubbling to the surface, and I didn't know what was going on until that moment. And I realized that the relationship that I had been in was really unhealthy, to the point where my body was shutting down and I could hardly be in the same room as this person. I didn't want to listen to the wisdom of my soul. So I stayed in environments and around people and places and things that weren't aligned with what my body and soul wanted, because I didn't know how to step into leadership in my life. And so at that point, I knew that if I didn't change something in my life, if I didn't learn how to listen and honor my soul fully, I wasn't going to be around for another year. And so I dove deeper into the work of studying with shamans, which I'd already been doing for over 10 years. And I really started to embody this work, which helped me heal 3 of the 4 autoimmune diseases. My depression went away, chronic pain went away, my hair grew back, even though the doctor told me I'd probably lose more and more chunks of my hair. My anxiety went away, my food sensitivities went away, and eventually I had the courage to leave that relationship and start a new business and really step into leadership at a higher level and teach other people, as one of the foundational pieces of honoring ourselves and our intuition and our leadership, how the soul communicates through symptoms and how we always have the answers inside of us. The question is, do we have the courage to get radically honest with ourselves, courage to sit with what's uncomfortable, and then of course, show up and take action to create change. And that's the foundation of the work that I teach people.
Beautiful, sweetheart. Love it.
Wow. That's not like a light intro.
Yeah, and you know what? Since then, so that was like 7 years ago, I've lived all over the world. I have a business where I'm able to serve lots of people, help them step into their power, their gifts, their mission, create a bigger impact in the world with their business, step into financial freedom, emotional freedom, their gifts, their voice. But more importantly, it's really helped me see where people are not in a space of leadership and freedom, and how quickly your life can change when you embody a few of these pieces that I'm sure we're going to talk more about tonight. So yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
Yay.
I love it. I love you,
done.
Dee. I miss
Love you guys.
You're doing awesome. Where are you in the world right now?
I'm actually back in Vancouver. I just got
nice.
back like 3 days ago after being in like California for months. So
Great.
yeah, good to be here. Yeah.
Nice.
Yes.
Excited to catch up in real person as well, not just online.
Yes, I look forward to that.
Yay. Thank you so much for joining us and sharing. And I always, whenever I'm around you, I just always feel like, I get that, like you said, like I always thought before I really knew you, oh, she's always happy. Oh, she's always just, this bubbly, life comes easy. And the more I've got to know you, I've really seen like, yeah, you walk the walk, you talk the talk, you do the work. And I've seen you, do your journey as well. And yeah, I'm proud of you.
Thank you. Yeah.
I met you when you were still with that guy, and I thought you were like, had it all made.
Yeah, see, this is the thing. This is the thing. I want to jam on this for a second. Is it's so easy. It's so easy to walk around and like talk about how great your life is, to do a lot of things in the outside world to look like a leader. Like I was in front of about 100 people a day. I had companies sponsoring me. I had opportunities on television. I had an opportunity to have an international clothing brand with my name on it. Like all of these things were there. that, you know, in quotations, is successful. People thought I had the perfect life. People loved my husband, but my body was saying no. My soul was saying, you're playing small. This is not it. And so it's like, we can lie to the outside world. We can talk about our success. We can do whatever. But the truth is, we can't lie to ourselves. And we always know the answers. It's about whether or not we have the courage to do something about it or to stay where we are. And it can happen like that. It can happen so quickly. And, you know, Shine and Crystal, I met you guys, like, that was probably around that time, like 7 years ago, right? 6, 7 years ago. And I remember, and I want to jam on this for a second, because this is like, so like maybe showing up in everyone's world in some way. It's like, I was in conversation with someone earlier about this. It's like, the universe is always giving us opportunities to say yes to our soul, to say yes to leadership, to say yes to what we're here to do in a bigger way. The question is, when you ask for what you want, do you actually say yes to it when it shows up? And I remember putting it out to the universe. I want to be a public speaker. I want to get on stages. Guess what happens? Ring, ring, ring. Sean Kelly's calling me 3 days later. And he's like, hey, Dee, what's up? I'm like, oh, not much. What's up with you? He's like, we need another speaker for this event. And I was like, oh shit. My whole body was shaking. I was sweating. Every cell in my body was contracting, as in like, fuck, no, you're not ready. What are you going to talk about? I didn't even have my coaching business yet. And I never talked about anything personal on stage. And I was like in it, right? I was in it. I was like working out in it, but I was still in it. And you know what I did? I said yes, even though every single cell in my body said no, because it was aligned with what I put out to the universe. And because of that, Shine, because you called me, because you heard the soul call and you gave me that opportunity, I've talked on stages around the world now because I said yes to that. And so it's about meeting the discomfort, meeting the parts of us that want to say, I'm not ready, I can't do this. What do I have to talk about? Who's going to listen to me? Whatever it is. And just ripping off the Band-Aid. And that was an opportunity that you guys gave me. And I just want to like do a shout out that, like, you know, I love you guys and thank you. And it's just so cool how full circle all these things, we all come back together and support in our evolutionary journeys, right?
I had no idea of that story. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
I thought you were all fancy already.
I love it.
And I think that's such a great reminder, especially in our spiritual wellness community, is of course we don't want to be pulling our past along with us, saying, oh yes, I'm a victim. Yes, I've had such a hard life. You know, we don't want to be reinforcing that by sharing, diving into it every single time. And there's a balance between also all the time just showing up as this perfectly put together person, because the piece we miss with that is the human element. And when we as humans are always comparing ourselves, no matter what, we're always looking at other people, seeing things we want, wanting to be more like that. But what we see one-dimensional is one-dimensional, especially in the digital world. You only hit record mostly when you're put together and you're showing up the way you want to be showing up. And I feel like it's a really delicate balance of being able to be vulnerable, to be honest, and still be positive, uplifting, and forward moving, but not denying the pieces that are hard and not kind of feeling like there's no room for that in our story, because that's the piece, that's the human piece that lets us really connect with each other and feel like, you know, I'm not doing bad, I'm not doing wrong, I'm along with everyone else, we're all figuring this out together. And yeah, it's a balance for sure. It's a leadership balance, and it's a piece that I've really learned through the years. That event that Dee was speaking of, that was Dream Talks, I believe, right? The Dream Talks at the Playhouse Theater. And that was the first event that Shine and I did together. And the 6 months before that, I had been at a Dream Talks event that I'd been invited to by someone in the community. And I had seen the hostess on stage introducing the presenters. And I just loved what she was doing and I was just I set my intention right there and then. I want to be hosting the next Dream Talks. I want to be the one on stage doing that next time. And like 5 or 6 months later, I was the one on stage introducing our event that Dee was actually at. And it was a really big full circle for me as well, that was I was like, you know what, I had no idea what I was doing. I'd never done an event at like a 600 person theater before. We had, I think, 40 vendors and 20 speakers. It was a crazy big event, but it was really a wonderful piece for me, like Dee just said, of it was lined up with what my values were and what I was calling in, which was community. I wanted community hardcore. I was like, I want people, I want my tribe, I want my community, and I want to support that community, and I want to help it grow, and I want to provide platforms for that community to be seen in the world. And that was my goal. And I didn't let the voices of, you don't know how to do this, stop me, which I'm really grateful for, because now if I went back, I would be like, it was so much work. It was such a gong show. Oh my goodness. It was a really stressful event, actually. And so many things we didn't know. And I'm so grateful that we actually didn't know those things, because we wouldn't have done it otherwise. So yeah. I'm proud of us. I'm proud of our journey. That was, like Dee said, almost exactly 7 years ago. And I think just such a great reminder, everyone tuning in now on the call, as well as everybody who's going to be rewatching this. I know you all have a passion, a project, something you want to bring into the world, something that you're either dreaming of or already birthing. And really remember that you're not alone, and that there's other people who, even if they don't know what you're doing and how to support you, just emotionally, mentally, energetically, they can be there for you as well. And that's what Unite is here to do. And that's what we're here to do on these calls and on our platform. So yeah, just keep.
You're not alone, Parisa.
You're not alone. Keep going. We're here for you. And we're all in this together, and we all want to see it happen. And it's really, as much as we all are very unique and have our own journey, actually, it's also very same. And, you know, we all go through the same phases and the similar processes, and to not feel like you're crazy and you're wow, what's going on? We get very much, especially solo entrepreneurs, we get very much in our head, and that can be hard. So yeah, reach out. We're here to support, and having that drive, like Dee said, that our dream matters more than our fear. And just, yeah, whenever you feel a little scared, reach out, and someone can boost you up a little bit, and we can get there together. So yeah. Does anyone have any questions they'd like to ask Dee specifically, or conversations that you want us to lead into? And if not, we will keep jamming. Just raise your hand or put a comment in the comments, and we will.
I want to ask you a question before we get into that.
Okay.
When stuff comes up that feels stressful or hard, but you know it's on your path, or you feel like it's on your path, and you feel like you want to move through that block or resistance or whatever, what's your go-to, and like, what have you learned, and what's your kind of like, if you were like, you know, Tony Robbins talks about, like, okay, like Roger Federer calls me up, he's at the game, he's losing, like he needs like 5 minutes, like fuck, let's go. Like what's your go-to to get someone back on track, or to get yourself back on track?
Yeah, so I do lots of different things. And I actually was just in conversation with a group of entrepreneurs that I work with about this exact thing, because they're like, oh, Deidre's always perfect and in great moods and energy. And I'm like, F that. Like, let's just stop with the pedestal stuff, because it's not true. We're all human. We're all going through stuff all the time. The only difference between those of us that continue moving forward like we do, or giving up, quitting, and getting in a rut is what we do in those moments. So it's really, for me, it's about finding what's available to me in that moment. For me, it might be like, I need to go for a run. I need to go to dance class. I need to sing it out. I need to journal this stuff down. I need to box. You know, I was going through something the other day, and I was like at boxing class, just like letting it out. It's like whatever medicine helps you move your energetic body. Like, when we feel stuck in our body, or a strong emotion, whether it's frustration, anger, sadness, you know, stagnation, blocked, it's because we need to move. So you need to move something, your voice, your body, music. I have a mini trampoline. I have tuning forks. I have essential oils. I have a guitar. I have music. I have all these different things that I can go to. But in the moment, like let's say I'm about to go on stage or facilitate to my mastermind or whatever it is that I'm about to do, and there's something that's coming to the surface, I lean into the feeling as fully as I can, and I'm vulnerable with it. And this isn't necessarily maybe something that some people will tell you because they're like, oh, like do this thing to shift your state, and that's helpful. But sometimes leaning into that vulnerability is actually where you're going to open yourself up more and just be like, I'm going to fully feel this, and I'm going to feel my way through this the whole time. And through that, what I'm doing is I'm expanding my emotional capacity to be seen, whether it's on stage. I'm expanding my capacity to work through the discomfort that I feel like I can't do this, whatever it is. And through that experience of being in it, but still doing the thing that you're afraid to do, you're creating new muscle. And as a result, guess what? You just won the game. You just moved to the next level within yourself. And you're like, oh, next time, it's not going to feel that way. But when that feeling comes up of I'm stuck, I can't do this, that person's better than me, whatever's going on in your brain that's getting you to feel stuck, if you can just lean into that feeling, be like, okay, this is initiation. This is something I have to go through. The next time you feel that, you're like, oh, this is my own resistance. This is my upper limiting. This is my stuff. Oh, what worked last time? Oh, I took action and it wasn't so bad, you know, but it depends on what's going on within you in the moment, but also it's about taking massive responsibility for our energetic state. Like I can talk about things that have happened in the past to show like, hey, where you're at, I've been there, I can help you, all those things, we're human. But also like my energetic state isn't I'm depressed now, feel bad for me, I'm a victim. It's like, hey, I'm at this frequency and I want to help bring you to this frequency with me and help you become the leader that you're meant to be. We're not going to hang out in your stuff. So it depends on the situation. That's an awesome question though. Yeah.
Love it.
That's fun. When I was gosh, I don't know, a while ago, my dad passed away when I was 15, and my mom became very depressed, and then she found this process called the journey that after 5 years of like hardcore depression, and she was on, you know, antidepressant medication, whatever. So she was kind of out of it and really wanting, and she had PhD psychology, had all these skills, had money, connections, and nothing was working. None of the mainstream services were working. And she found this process called the journey, which one of Tony Robbins's teammates had created, because she created this giant cancer belly of like the size of a watermelon, and by going in and healing some past trauma in this visualization, she healed that, and then kind of wrote it down and figured out how to teach other people. And so my mom did this process, healed some past trauma, and I went on to take that course because I was so fascinated of like what had helped her shift. And one of the practices that they do is where you feel whatever you're feeling, you feel it fully, and you are fully present with it, and you just let it get bigger and bigger and bigger and expand and lean into it. And it always sort of shifts. And sometimes people will get to that point of it shifts into like void, and it feels scary and there's like nothing there. And then usually that's that tipping point of going through the void, and then it starts to feel better and better and better. And if everyone that I've ever seen do it, and everyone that I've worked with doing it, every time I've ever done it, it leads into this like expansive bliss and openness and kind of connection back to source. And it's really powerful. And it's actually part of the reason I took the name Shine, because my birth name is Kelly Sean McMahon. And I was playing music at the time, and I was like, oh, that's a boring stage name. And I wanted something cool to like play music with. And I was thinking Sean, Shine, Kelly, whatever. So I took the name. But it was also because at the time I was learning that any emotion that I was feeling, I had a person come up to me and say like, oh my God, Shine, or I think at the time, Kelly, you're so amazing. Like, you're so blah, 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 like giving me all this praise. And at the time I was feeling up and down, and I was like, that's not who I am all the time. And I actually like became kind of a jerk for a moment to prove that like, I'm not always this nice. And I actually identified as not being nice all the time. And what this process taught me was that part of me that doesn't feel nice or doesn't feel good enough or whatever, that's just like this surface distortion, temporary thing. But if I just feel fully and just allow myself and fully surrender, I'll always get to this place of love. And so that must be who I really am. That must be the core of my being, is this like shine, this love. And so that was part of taking that name, was reminding myself every time someone told me, it was like, oh yeah, this is who I am. This is who I really am. And to kind of help me like become that like unconditional love in real life. That was my goal at the time. I was in Victoria with a bunch of hippies, and I was like, that's my goal. I want to be unconditional love. And I don't do it all the time. Crystal knows. I'm working on it.
I used to get a lot of that as well. People would come up to me, especially when we were new together and I was new to the community, and people would say, oh, you know, Shine's always so happy. What's it like being with someone who's always so happy? And I'm like, sorry to burst your bubble. He's not always happy, but he works really hard to only show up when he is. And if he's in a shitty state, you won't see him. He'll be off walking, driving, doing his work. And I think that comes back to what we were talking about before. There's a balance of course, we don't want to show up in the shit and be spreading our goo all over people. And I think there's such a teaching, learning balance of being able to have just kind of use it as a springing off point. And Abraham Hicks talks about that. And I like what they say, like, kind of like if you're like, you know, like 1% of your energy, you're like, so I had a really bad day and now I'm going to do this. So this was really tough in my childhood, but now I'm going to, and like you use it like just like a bounce and then off to like all the other things. But what it does is it builds a little bit of that connection piece. And I feel like those are some of the things that now as society we're being able to bring more up into the world. Mental health challenges, sexual abuse challenges, a lot of this stuff like family system stuff that in the past has been very taboo and kept kind of quiet and under the rug, so to speak, now there's more and more conversations about that. And I use the analogy, for me, I have sexual abuse trauma in my childhood as well. And I use the analogy like having a broken bone. And before 7 weeks ago, I could say not that I've ever had a broken bone, but I did break my toe 7 weeks ago. So now I can't say that anymore. So like a broken bone, you break it, it's very physical. I could see it was broken. It was going the wrong way. It was traumatic. My kids were there, the whole thing, emergency room, like it was a whole big process. I had lots of people aware of what was happening to me, lots of people supporting because they knew I was going through a trauma because it was very overt. And for the last 7 weeks, I've been hobbling around. It's not something internal, but the traumas, the sexual abuse traumas, the mental emotional traumas, those ones we internalize. And especially if we received messages that these things are not okay, I think in our Western culture, there's a little bit more, at least in my life and the people around me, there's a little bit more acceptance of therapy, of getting mental and emotional support and help. And I know there's lots of cultures where that's still not okay. So those things don't get talked about. And those traumas that aren't physical on the outside, what happens with a broken toe or a dog bite, let's say as a child, you have many tools to step through that. You go, meet your friend's dog who's really friendly and you pet it and you work up to a bigger dog and you have all these processes and steps to charge the trigger. And with these kind of internal traumas, and that can be anything, like sexual abuse is a big one, but anything from like, a fear of public speaking or a fear of putting your dream out there, any of these internal things that are not a physical thing that we can see and talk about as easily because we don't get the support often or look at them. The physical trauma is a broken toe. It goes de-escalates over time. And the other traumas actually escalate. And that's where we find a lot of people having their midlife crises or things happening later in life because those traumas are still there and they're just continuing on to get bigger and bigger. So I'm so grateful for all of you being willing to have these conversations, and for Dee holding space and really starting us off on a very vulnerable note, which was really amazing. And that really, to be these embodied leaders that we want to be, there needs to be that willingness to kind of hold ourselves open and hold space for these things that maybe have been there since we were kids, or even past life stuff, wherever you believe it's come from. And that to de-escalate them is really what we need to do, so that we can step up. And then, like Dee said, you'll still have times where you're like, ah! And then hopefully you've heard some amazing words of wisdom from someone about some things that you can do in the moment to work through that. So yeah, thanks everybody. I didn't read all the comments. Was there anything in there? You good?
Yeah.
Yay.
Kira has a question, and if you have something that you want to talk about or ask, you can put your hand up like this in the reactions, raise hand, and then it puts you to the top right, and then you can lower your hand when you're done. But yeah, Kira, if you want to go and jam, great. If not, that's fine too.
Kira, is it like specific? Do you have a specific question around energy, or do you want me just to tell you what I see?
Nothing specific so much as like I feel that it's hard. I feel like
Kira, your audio is very clicky.
That's okay.
There you go.
The clicking has stopped, but now we cannot hear you. Say something? No, we cannot hear you.
Oh, a little
Boo
bit.
hiss.
A little bit.
Try now. Nerp.
You can just type in sign language.
Exactly. I am feeling sad. We'll get an interpreter on here.
Awesome.
Yeah, technology moments. It seems like as we approach this new opening of this new year, we're all getting to reconnect with our relationship with technology. So let's see, what did Kira say? Oh, she's maybe still typing. There you go.
Take steps, but then get so drained, I lose momentum, or I'm exhausted from my job and can't get my mission work. Okay, so there's a couple of things that I feel called to talk about. So one thing can I give you a medical thing that's coming up in your physicality? Are you open to that? So you need to do some lymphatic work. So that's this, jumping, moving your body. It feels like your lymphatic system needs some drainage. Just for those of you that may not be like, what is she talking about? I'm able to see disease in people's bodies. I'm a universal shaman, but I don't market myself that externally because it's not the forefront of my business. But jumping, padding is really good because there's just some stagnant energy in your physical body. I would recommend doing stage changes. If you have a mini trampoline, that's great. But also what I want to talk about for a moment here that's very much connected to embodied leadership around this conversation is in my book, Turn Your Light On. This is some of my signature work that I've been working and developing for about 10 years now. It's about waking up to who you are in your mission work. And there's 4 different stages of it. So stage 1 that I shared a little bit in my story, and you guys may have some stuff going on right now that ebbs and flows depending on what's going on in your life. It's like having our light off. We're in the forest in the middle of the night. We have a flashlight, but it doesn't work. So what are you going to do? You're going to hang out by a tree. You're going to be in fear. You're going to, be disconnected from your body and the outside world, and you're not going to be able to take steps. This is how it shows up in, you could say, our evolutionary work and who we are and how we operate. And at this stage 1 of turning our light on, we really need to get in touch with our physical body and what our physical body is here to tell us. And that's where I talk about the language of the soul and how the body communicates in a simplified version, and also developing our intuition. You've got a lot of that down, but I want to break this down the 4 stages because I think you're at stage 3. Okay. And one stage is not better than another. They're just different stages based on what's going on and where we're locked in and what we're choosing. Stage 2 is the flickering light stage. So it's like having a flashlight that's on and off. So sometimes your momentum, you're working on mission, you're feeling like everything's clear and great. And then out of nowhere, for whatever reason, maybe you're conscious of it or not, you dim your light, you go back into fear, you go back into playing small, you self-sabotage, but you may not know why. So sometimes you're on path, on mission, and other times you're opting on, you're exhausted. So that could potentially be something that might be going on. At this stage, doing the deeper healing work around trauma is vital. I talk about that in my book. And also understanding what your core triggers are that are triggering belief systems that go back to, I need to play safe, it's not safe to move forward. Then there's stage 3. Stage 3 of turning your light on, your bright light. Okay. And in the bright light stage, this is the most common stage that I support people with. Bright light stage is, I'm so excited. And I know that Shine and Crystal have probably been here. I know I've been here many times. Is the bright light stage is like, I have so much energy. I have so much excitement. I have so much light and I want to do everything. Okay. And so I have light going in this direction, all directions. So again, being in the forest in the middle of the night with a flashlight, but there's no direction, there's no penetration, there's no depth. So what happens in, the entrepreneurial journey and also our evolution is we're constantly doing all of these things that are like the quick hits, we could say, the instant gratifications, the things that we're good at, the things that pay our bills, the things that other people want. And we're like, oh, this is good. And from the outside looking in, we look like our light's on because it is on. But the problem is our energy is leaking in all directions. And guess what? We get burnt out, stressed out. We lose our capacity to show up. And usually the one thing that you really want to work on is on the back burner, or you don't have energy or time for it or momentum. And that, I think, is what's going on here. And then some physical body stuff, which is obviously a manifestation of stuff, right? So at this stage, stage 3 of turning your light on it's about quieting the noise. It's like, hey, listen, my soul is asking me to go all in one direction. Where can I start delegating, releasing obligations, and really focus on the goal and move that forward, even if it's micro steps every day? One of the best ways to be productive is to just take one step a day towards a goal consistently for the month and break it down like that. And then the next thing is really doing the work to jump all in on the vision, all in on the mission, all in on you, and trusting yourself so that the universe can back you. Because when you rip off the Band-Aid and you go all in on that one thing, everything else is going to show up for you. So what's important usually at this stage, if this resonates, Kyra, is quieting the noise, getting a mentor or support, someone who can help you stay focused and grounded and help you commit, but also surrounding yourself with like-minded people who are doing similar work that are going to raise you to a higher level of leadership. That's been really powerful for me. It's different based on what you need, but quieting the noise, going all in, and learning how to not get distracted by things that are easy. And then stage 4 of turning your light on is the noise is quiet. You're around peers and people who are helping you build your mission, and you're all in on the vision and what you're creating, and people are actively showing up for you, and you're in a space of flow and co-creation. So those are the 4 steps. I think that potentially what might be going on with you is the stage 3, a little bit too much going on and needing to quiet that noise. But I want to pass it over to you and see what resonates. If you have any questions. Oh, we can't hear you, but feel free to type it in. Yeah, that's okay. And so those are the 4 stages of like turning your light on. We can shift on that scale based on what's going on in our life, and what we need shifts based on what we need, right? Something that you need at one point in your life is not what you need at another point, right? But yeah, I'd love to hear in the comments how that resonated. Awesome. Yeah, that's it. That's the work. And you might want to, if you haven't picked up my book, you might want to pick it up or we can chat. But there's specific steps and tools and processes that you can take and start to like quiet the noise in those areas. But also with your phone, one of the best things I've done in my life for just like quieting the noise is my ringer is never on. People call me, they get to my voicemail, and guess what it says? Oh, I don't answer voicemail. I don't respond. Please don't leave me one. If it's important, text me. If if it's, you need to send me an email, great. But like big boundaries around your time, energy, and capacity, the more you want to create and do, the more you want to have like solid boundaries around your time, energy, and focus. And that can be challenging sometimes, especially when we've trained people we're always available or always saying yes. So boundaries is like one of the most powerful things that may serve you as well. All right. So any more questions around any of that stuff? Or any questions around anything that's coming up for you?
We're muted there. I said, Kira, we're so proud of you. You're doing great.
Yeah. When we were moving houses, it was actually a relief to try and look for a house, because I was so burnt out on the business and so stressed, and like it was getting to that point where it was hard to like even think about it. It was so triggering. And so it gave this like 3-month breather of just like moving and looking for a house and kind of putting everything down, and that was really nice. And then when we moved and we got here, I started going for walks on the beach, and like just fully, I felt like I kind of had to surrender because it was just not working and it was hard. And so I would wake up and just meditate, and I was trying to be as like as soft with myself as possible, and like, okay, like what can I do to just like release this resistance and just be like okay right now. And so I would go in the morning, meditate, and I would just, first thing, like I couldn't, if I checked my phone and I saw a thing, it could trigger me and I would be like wonkety for the day or for hours or whatever. And so I just had like, I had to just wake up and do absolutely nothing and just meditate and only focus on my breath. And then if I did that for a little bit of time, sometimes it didn't take that long, sometimes it took a bit longer, but usually I would get into this place where I would start to be in this receptive mode, where if I just meditated and focused on my breath, but I was keeping an open, kind of surrendered listening state, I could start to feel and hear these messages come in. And so like right now, if I would go into that state, it's like, all is well. I know I'm so good. And it's just these little soft acknowledgements and loving words. And so I would just sit with that, and I would sometimes be guided to go for a walk or go for a drive, and I would spend like sometimes hours just in that soft, relaxing, receptive state. And my energy would start to build and build and build. And then I would start to like move my body more and sometimes shake, and sometimes like feel like I needed to like get the energy moving. And I would start to, and this was all not me doing it. It wasn't like, this is a process I have to do. It was like, I'm surrendering and relaxing. I'm not doing anything, but this was what wants to happen. This is what's coming through me. And then I would get to this point where my energy was so high and moving so fast and feeling so good, that would actually get to this kind of peak summit moment where I was like at the top of the mountain, and I could feel like Neo in the Matrix, where like everything slows down and I just feel like expansive and good and clear. And then for the first time ever that I remember, I had this experience where my surrendered state said, what do you want to talk about? And I was like, oh, well, blah, blah, blah. And then I literally could have a conversation with my higher self, or whatever you want to call it. And I started to ask these questions like, well, what should I be doing? What direction should we go with in the business? What blah, blah, blah with this? And I was getting answers that I wasn't consciously thinking of, that I wouldn't have, that I was actually not thinking of, that I thought was not the right path. And I was just getting this lovely clarity, and it just felt so good. And then coming back into the world, it was really brutal actually, because I was coming up from a high place and then meeting my triggers, and it was like, boom, it just felt like I was crashing and burning, and it was this really awkward phase. And where I'm getting to now is spending more and more of my time in that surrendered, relaxed, receptive mode. and actually really getting into this, like enjoying it and spending more and more of my time feeling good about it. And before I take any action, before I take on a project, or before I'm really doing anything, even if it's just a little action, like going and inviting people to a Facebook event, in the past, sometimes that would trigger me because I'm like, why am I doing this? It's like, I'm not supposed to, I should hire someone for this. And it would just trigger me because I had all these things I wanted to do. And now I'm just letting myself I'm only taking action as much as possible from that receptive mode, from that filled up inspiration, overflowing cup. And that's been huge. That's been such a big difference and such a shift for me. And I literally feel now like I'm just happy and just excited and more in those little like moment to moment. Because in the past I felt like I was generally happy and things were generally good, but I was going through a lot of ups and downs and inner stress and getting triggered and back and forth. And it's still kind of coming up, but I'm finding that that surrendering work will guide me to release resistance. And I even had some PTSD stuff where I was feeling like anxiety and fear when it wasn't real, and I knew that, but it was in my body and I couldn't shake it. And this process has just helped me literally kind of shake it out and move it, and I'm just guided to release it. And it feels like it's working, like it's definitely lower or gone. But I notice it sometimes comes back when I'm in those really lower states. And Abraham Hicks says that like you never really get rid of something, and that's not the point. Like if you get down to a low enough vibration, you're a match to those things, and you can draw from the past and reactivate triggers. But it's more, I more see it like there's a mountain, and when you're at the bottom of the mountain, it can feel overwhelming, like you either have to climb it or go through it, and it's just this massive thing, and you're at that lower energy state. But the higher you go up on the mountain, the less mountain there is. Mm-hmm. And if you can get high enough, it's like you just kind of sail right by, and it's not even there. And that's that lovely place where it's like, I don't even know what I was worried about, or like that doesn't even exist. Mm-hmm. And I think there's something really, really magical about that. But yeah, just and a lot of it was allowing myself to be okay not doing anything for a day or two or three or a week or 3 months of not really focusing on this business, which is like so much a part of who I am and what I want to do and my purpose. And I know it's important, but just being okay with not doing anything for a moment to just reset and realign. And I'm like a railway car. Like when I go, and I just like push and move, and I'm just going. But if I'm going in the wrong direction, it's like then you have to go stop and turn around and go back all that way. So I'm learning to like not take action as quickly until I know I'm in alignment and I know it's like the right thing and I feel it and it's like yes, and then just to sort of to go forward.
Yeah. Oh, good.
Yeah. What I love about that too, Shine, is also when you're talking about climbing the mountain, when you're on the top of the mountain, you see like, oh, like I needed to be on part of that journey of going up, but also I'm at the top of the mountain. I have a different perspective on where I was, right? And I think that when we're going through things like, last year around, I think it was last winter, I was working like I basically wasn't working. I wasn't working for like, I think I was working like a couple hours a week with my business. And the business coach that I was working with, she's like, normally I tell people to go harder and go faster. She's like, I want you to not work at all and just allow yourself to be. And I remember being in Mexico and I was writing my book at the time. That was one thing I was doing, but like, I was like, oh my gosh, like, who is this woman? And I was like really frustrated. I had to go through this whole process around my identity with my productivity. And I realized to a certain extent how in some ways I used to hide behind my work as a way to disconnect from people and also to disconnect from worthiness things that I had running the show behind the scene. But taking that time off gave me more clarity and like totally shifted things for me. So I love that you brought that up because that's like, sometimes there's a mentality that people can take on, and I've definitely taken on like, oh, I need to just push harder. Sometimes you just have to stop and do nothing until you know what to do. So Love that story. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's were you gonna add something?
Oh, just quick, Colin Sprake, a mutual friend who actually lives a block away from us now.
Another Dream Talk speaker. He was on stage with Dee.
Yeah.
He talks about the difference between coach and a mentor, I think. Not coach in the term like that a lot of people who do coaching, but that's just his term, that a coach is someone who is like at the bottom of the mountain and is like, yeah, you can do it, but they've never actually climbed it. Whereas a mentor, like, and I think he calls his like business Sherpas, there are people who actually climbed the mountain before, and then they come down and then they walk you up, or they'll like guide you and say like, oh yeah, watch out with this rock and like do this and this and this. And that was the only bit.
Yeah, good distinction. Yeah, for me, one of those, I really identify Dee with that productivity as a measure of value and measure of worth. And for me, when I met Shine, I had been a single mom for many years. I was in a lot of mode of like, if I don't do stuff, my babies are going to die kind of mentality. Like the buck stops with me. If I'm not doing it, nothing's happening. And I had done a lot of personal development work quite a bit earlier in my life. And I had really taken on, in a negative way, this, if you're not growing, you're dying mentality, that if you're not pushing forward, you're stagnant. And it took me being with Shine, and before that, I really felt like my value was, look what I've produced, look what I've done today, look what I've accomplished. And being with Shine, I was like, oh, that's not his mentality. And I really had to look at what was going on for me. And what I realized was, like you said, self-worth. And I really believed that if I didn't push myself, I would end up sitting on my butt watching Netflix for the rest of my life. And that would be it, that I would, because whenever I stopped pushing, that's what happened. And I would just crash. And I was like, so that's, obviously I'm not a good enough person to let myself relax, because I won't do anything and I'll be a mess, and people will have to take care of me. And it was because I'd never let myself do it long enough or properly, really, to ever get through that. So I would give myself a minute or an hour or a little bit of time, but never enough to actually transcend it and work through it. And what I was doing a lot at that time, of course, like your story at the beginning, I would get sick. I got a lot of colds, a lot of flus, blame the kids. I've got kids, they're always sick. But basically, whenever I'd been pushing for a little while, I would get sick. And that was the only time I would let myself relax, and I would let myself receive. And a lot of my memories from childhood, when I felt really cared for and really loved, was when I was sick. And when I was sick was the time when my mom would come take care of me. My grandma would be there for me. And I remember, like, them holding my head when I'm puking or rubbing my back. And it's like, I felt like I'm puking, I'm worthy of love. Clearly, I'm sick. And the same thing as an adult, when I was sick, I would ask for help babysitting. I would ask someone to come help be with my kids so I could rest. But unless something extreme was happening, I wouldn't give myself that break. And it took being with Shine and seeing that he would take a break for a little while and then he would get re-energized. And I'm like, maybe I need to give myself a little bit more of an actual break. And there's a difference between, I was just talking with my mom about this today, there's a difference between like taking a break to recharge and collapse. And collapse is like, you kind of get into this like hole of like, poor me, why is everyone out to get me? And you can do that for a moment if you really need to kind of like process and catalyze through. But I find you just keep digging yourself in. But what I really had to do was just trust that just by resting in this moment, what feels most exciting. And a lot of times I'm like, I don't know, everything feels awful. And I'm like, okay, self, what's the least bad thing I could do right now? Just slightly better. I don't know, like open the window, like have a bath, like listen to some music. Okay, let's start with that. Let's step where instead of like, how can I like give myself a break because the world is so hard and everything's awful, nothing's working. It's like, how can I feel better? And was the new mentality that I started having. How can I feel slightly better right now? Not that I need to fix this, but what would make me, having a chocolate, having an ice cream, what will feel slightly better right now? And and sometimes it is watching a Netflix show. I cuddle up in my bed with my heating pad and my cozy blankets, or in my bath, and I watch a show. But it was that idea of letting myself do something that would make me feel better. And what I learned through that, and through Abraham Hicks, they talk about your cork, that as human, our natural state is joy, is happiness, is good. And we are the ones holding our cork under the water. And I didn't believe that before I did this work. I believed that if I wasn't pushing, I would stay underwater. And learning the piece that, oh, okay, if I give myself a little bit of space, I will naturally float, and I will get up. I will get the inspiration and the desire to participate again in life, to connect with people, to work on my business. And that took me being willing to do it, and me trusting, okay, let's just not do anything until I feel inspired, until I feel excited, until I feel like this is going to be something fun to do. And now I have done it enough times that I know it. And I believe that I innately, because the things I'm doing, because the business I want to be a leader of is something I'm passionate about, myself, my source, my higher self will inspire me to do the things that I need to do to get myself to a state to work on my business and to move it forward. But it takes breaking that cycle. And I don't know, Kira, if you're still here or listening, but maybe you can listen back too if you're not. For me, it really took breaking that cycle of, I don't have value unless I'm pushing forward. Yay, you're here. I don't have value unless I'm pushing forward, and giving myself permission and trusting that these things, if I give myself the time and space to fill myself up, love myself. Shine kept saying, and I'm such a visual person, when he first met me, you've got to put your own oxygen mask on first. And I'd be like, but my kids are going to die if I don't save them right now. And the society, the world, my house, everyone, they need me right now. And he kept saying, like, oxygen mask on first. Like, it's not a joke. It's not like a nice cliche. And I really had to do that. And I got sick less and less. And I was able to be more and more productive. And I was able to be highly productive in the time. I ended up working less, but I was way more highly productive in the time. I made way less more mistakes, way less more mistakes. And the things I did were way more effective because I was coming from a good place. And still from time to time, we do things like break toes to make sure we're really, walking the walk and talking the talk, and not walking for a while and lining up. So that's what I did.
And it's amazing that, like, even though when we were moving, we sort of took a bit of a break from the normal, like, daily grind of the business, it's like things still kept going.
Yeah.
Like, we still did things, like we still did little bits of, like, probably like an hour a day or so, or whatever, at least on the business. And so, like, things still moved forward. And it was such a good reminder of, like, as long as you're just like it doesn't take much, like, it just little things can move things forward. And even the other day, I was like, I had this desire for something to happen with the business, but I just had no interest in doing it right now. And so I was just spending more time in inner and feeling really great. And it's like all these things started happening without me doing anything in the business. And it just sort of started, and I was like, oh, interesting. And Abraham's talked about that. And we've actually raised money that way. And I don't even like the word raised, because we just got into such an excited, aligned place and felt so clear and so good and so like we're doing this thing and it's so fun and so beautiful and it's going to be amazing. And we're just so excited that the first time this guy called us out of the blue, we hadn't talked to him in a year. And he was like, hey, are you guys raising money? Like, do you need money? Mm-hmm. Like, that crazy. And within a week we had $50,000 in our bank account. And it was like, how'd that work? Like, that we weren't even taking meetings. We were just in this visioning, excited. And so I feel like the universe can inspire other people to act on your behalf, even when you're doing nothing. And Abraham said one time that you can literally sit with your feet dangling in a pool or in the ocean or whatever, and everything you want will come to you.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, like I didn't believe. I was like, it's a nice, metaphor, but that's not true. But now I'm like, oh yeah, like that's real. Like you could just chill and you'll either be guided to the action or inspired to the thought, or other people, like the universe will sort of make it known and make it obvious and make it easy for the things you want to come to you if you're not resisting it, and if you're just in that relaxed, receptive place. Because I love Abraham, because they talk about like it's a river, like there's just so much momentum already going, and your job is just to let go and go with the flow. And like you don't need to hang on to the banks or like get mangled by the rocks on the way. You can, but you're still going to get to the same place. So do you want it to be a joyful, like, river raft where you get to watch the birds, or do you want to like get tumbled by the rocks and come out a shinier diamond?
And sometimes if you just let go of the rocks, it's
Yeah.
going to push you exactly where you need to go, or in front of that person. But because you're holding on to the rocks, that person is like walking by who could save you or help you with something, and you're missing like
Come on, man. Abraham says that when people die, the funniest things when they look back on their life are all the opportunities that were right there.
Yeah.
And like the life-changing shit that was like next to you at the coffee shop, or walking by, or phoned you and you missed it, that you just weren't in alignment with, but it was right there. And you're just like, oh, so good. Like, that's funny.
Yeah. Oh, so good. That's another fun thing that helped me with Abraham was they talked about if you are in a resistant place, Kira, maybe it's feeling a little bit more resistant at the moment. They talk about like, don't worry, kind of like if you're falling out of an airplane, it will be over soon. And I love the visual. I think of it like if you're at the top of a water slide and you're like sitting there and you're like not letting yourself slide down, and the water's kind of building up behind you a little bit. Sometimes when I'm stuck at something, I'm able actually to shift it and lighten the mood by going, oh baby, as soon as I'm able to let go, I'm just going to shoot down this slide, because I can feel myself holding myself there. And I'm not quite sure what I need to do to let go. And sometimes, it's going to come in the shower or, when I'm sleeping, but I try and like look at it like, okay, I know I'm holding myself at the top of the water slide. Don't worry, as soon as I let go, it's going to be so fun. That metaphor of pulling the bowstring back, like give yourself a little laugh. Like as soon as I figure out how to let go of this bow, geez, I'm going to fly, because I've built up so much resistance that there's this huge back wave coming to shoot me down this slide. And Abraham says there's no better way for you to get clarity. When you're in resistance, you're getting so clear on what you don't want. You're getting so clear on what's not working. You're filling your vortex with all the stuff you want. So whenever it's feeling tough and hard, instead of beating ourselves up for, I did something to fall off the wagon, to fall off the path, to mess myself up. I always blame myself. What did I do to break myself? I didn't eat properly. I didn't sleep properly. I tripped over a freaking thing and broke my toe. What did I do? And instead I kind of look at, okay, this is giving, I don't know why right now, but I'm doing this to give myself so much contrast. When we know what we don't want, we know what we do want. And I'm giving myself so much contrast to actually be able to get the answers that I want. So don't worry if you don't know what it is right now, because you're going to figure it out. And I'm so excited to hear when you get those ahas and you're like, that's what this was about. Or like Dee said, now you're on top of the mountain. You're like, that's what was going on. So yeah, those times are coming. Don't you worry.
Nazar, we'll get to you in just a sec. There's a guy named Matthias DeStefano, who's just one of my favorite people. He has a Gaia show called Initiation, and it's spectacular. Dee, if you haven't watched it, like it's a must watch, the whole thing. And he talks about enlightenment, and he's got this beautiful Argentinian accent, and he's like, the truth about enlightenment is that if everyone in this room or anyone anywhere was to become enlightened right now, the next thing out of their mouth or the next thought in their head would be, what's next? Because it's like, we came from enlightenment. Like we are enlightenment, our soul, our source, like that's who we are. And we're here in the world to experience stuff, to go up and down, and it's the ride. And that's the whole point of being here, is the journey, is the ride, is the ups and downs. And there is a way, I think, to ride it more effectively where you don't get that full burnt out and whatever, but sometimes that's what your soul needs, is a really big wind up to, like, you want the drama, you want the push, you want that like release where you get a really fast ride, because otherwise you just can't have it if you're always feeling blissful. Like, the bliss doesn't feel as blissful as feeling terrible and then feeling blissful again, because you're like, whoa, this is good.
You can have it, but we like the contrast. We really do. And that's, they say, you know, you can have the story. People love hearing the cancer to healing stories, and the, you know, whatever, they lifted the car and they changed the, you know, they came from nothing to something. And we love those stories, and they're so inspiring. And Abraham says, like, you know, you can do that if you want, but it's up to you. It's up to you how much and how big you want to create that contrast. So
Go ahead, Nazar. You still there?
Thank you, Shine. Yes, I'm here.
Oh, good.
Thank you. I love your stories, and what you shared actually reminded me of two things. So the first thing was there's this amazing documentary on Netflix called Island of Seawolves, and you get to see how animals behave on Vancouver Island during different seasons. In summer they struggle, in winter they struggle, but you get to see how they, you know, coop. So for example, you see certain animals fighting over, you know, corpses with each other, right? So it's like, it's a battle between them and who gets to hunt what first. So there's this thread that we're talking about, that they have to work hard and fight hard against each other to, you know, even between themselves, like even within the same species. And then I was really inspired when I saw this bear. He just went somewhere by the river fall, and the fish were just, like the salmon, they was just jumping right on his hand. That's it. He did nothing. He didn't have to fight anyone. and that's an important lesson that we can all learn. It's just pick your spot, find out where you can shine, and, you know, things will come to you. You don't have to, like, you know, fight against others, you know, or, you know, climb mountains or dive underwater. You don't have to go through this. It's important as part of your transformation, right? Because what doesn't break you makes you stronger. So yes, it's important, but at some point you gotta realize, like, you can just learn by being wiser and, you know, thinking of how to make things in a more efficient way, instead of focusing, oh no, I need to be productive, I need to work 20 to 40 hours a week. No, this is not a success formula. This is you trying to fill a void. You have to differentiate between, you know, being efficient and getting results in a timely manner, you know, with the minimum amount of resources, versus, you know, burning out yourself. And, you know, it also, we have to remember that mental health is very important, you know, especially, I think one of the biggest lessons we learned in 2020 is that if you don't take care of your mental health, then, you know, nothing else is going to matter. No money is going to fix that.
Yeah, for sure.
And yeah, just one last thing is that one of the greatest lessons learned were also in Rich Dad Poor Dad, like the stories that were mentioned there. It just shows how people measure their self-worth. Some people just want a 10% raise, and some people like, no, I want to be a business owner and I want to, you know, earn more. I want to own multiple businesses and hire more people and pay them more. So, like, the self-discovery piece, I think, is the most important thing we learned from this book. Not about how to become rich, it's just the mindset. Like, where are you right now? What are you doing with your life? Just take a moment to self-reflect and see where you are right now and where you want to be, and how you can bridge that gap. And don't be shy to reach out to help. And like you said, reach out to the community, ask for support, just even network. You don't have to like ask for money. If you just, the right opportunities are way more valuable than asking someone for any amount of money, in my opinion.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah,
sure.
Speaking of where we're at right now, I would love to segue into where Dee's at, Deidre, because I know you've got a lovely workshop coming up, and I'd love for people to hear about it. And I'm sure Do you? You have some offerings? No, maybe, I don't know.
Well, okay, so there's one thing that is coming up, and I haven't put a date on the calendar yet, but I will be very soon. So if this is of interest to you, please reach out. And essentially what it is the two main things that I help people do right now that I'm super excited about is help people step into a higher level of leadership in their inner world, right? Like owning your path, stepping into your purpose in a bigger way, and like really surrounding yourself with the right people and being accountable and all those things. So those are the things that have really supported me over the years. And so I have a workshop that's going to be coming up, and it's about being a leader as we are and stepping more into that, but also creating a freedom-based business of creating 6 figures or multiple 6 figures online within a year, where you're going to learn how to create a very powerful masterclass where you can give a lot of value. You're going to learn how to create and launch your signature program, which essentially is your flagship program, and then also a high-end year-long program. And this is the things that I'm helping my clients with today, as well as the leadership stuff behind the scenes of, oh, I feel stuck, I feel stagnant, I have fear, and getting them booked on stages and all of that. So I'm going to be talking about having a freedom-based business that's really about having emotional freedom, financial freedom, location freedom, and time freedom. And those are the 4 things that I feel that I've definitely mastered in my life and business 5 years ago. And I started this business 5 years ago because I decided that, you know, I don't have kids yet, but when I have kids, I want to be able to stay at home and be with them and not have to work more than a couple days a week. And so I was able to create that within my first year of business. And then people were like, how'd you do this? And I've been teaching it ever since. And I do feel like I've really mastered this, and I'm excited to talk more about how you can create that in your business, whether you're a facilitator, coach, author, speaker, whatever, how you can take it to the next level. So if that's what you want to learn about, reach out to me either on Facebook, Instagram, DM me, and I will send you more information. I'm going to be putting it on the calendar in the next week. So yeah, I'd love to invite you.
Amazing. And do you think that's going to be happening in Vancouver, and will it be live or online or both? I mean, in person or online?
Yeah, it will be online first, because I work with people all over the place. We have people from Australia, the UK, US, and Canada. So I'll be doing an online version, and then I might do something later in the month in person that's a little bit different. So I like to, now that I'm in Vancouver, I want to, like, you know, get in person. I can't wait to come to your guys' house and film something and have a good time. But yeah, I'm just super passionate about helping leaders become the leader that they're meant to be, backing their work fully, and then creating those 4 pieces of freedom, because that's how we can create a lot of change in the world, but also focus on what's important to us too. Because business is great. It's awesome. Like, it's great to make an impact, but also what matters most to you, family, and, you know, friendship and community. And so that's one of the reasons I'm really passionate about it too. Yeah.
Amazing. So do you have a website? What are easy ways for people to find you? Where can they find you?
Yeah.
We'll share those links when we repost the video.
So on Instagram, I am Deidre Siriani, and then my website is radicallyaligned.com. That's my company, Radically Aligned Academy, where we're training leaders and visionaries how to step into their truth and make a bigger impact. And yeah, like I just love connecting with people. If there's anything coming up for you, have questions you want to ask privately, more than happy to do that. I also have an incredible book called Turn Your Light On. And this is a system I've been developing over the past 10 years. And it's really powerful for doing the inner work. And if you're interested in leveling up internally, you have trauma, you have things that are blocking you, this system's really powerful, and I know it can free. So you can grab this on Amazon. And yeah, it's been great chatting with you guys. I love the conversation. It's good to see some familiar faces here. And Crystal Shine, I love you guys so much. And I'm proud of what you guys are creating. And I love seeing you just step more and more and more into this. And it's always fun to play. So thanks for having me, guys.
You're so welcome. Thanks for being here. We love these conversations and getting to just jump in deep, go deep, dump in into this stuff, go deep and kind of pull out these conversations a little bit. Does anyone have any other specific questions you would like to direct towards Dee? If not, then we can go do a little round robin where everyone on the call can share a little bit about themselves, what they're working on, if there's something that we can support you with in the community, something Unite can support you with, and yeah, and then we'll get to do some more jamming.
First of all, Dee, congratulations on creating a successful business.
Yeah.
Like, wow, that's a huge accomplishment, and being that, self-sufficient and like it's a really big deal, and like, well done. And I was talking with Parisa yesterday, and her and her amazing sister Sarah have also created this beautiful business. But when we talked about it as a business, she's like, oh yeah, right, it makes money, but I would do it for free. Like, I just love it so much. And so if you ladies want to share a little bit about what you're up to, we're actually doing a special Friday, tomorrow episode of the Unite show, where we're going to have these two amazing women on talking about the power of women's circles.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I'd love to hear from you if you're ready.
Oh, thank you so much, Shine and Crystal. It was so nice. I loved the conversation so much, and I was like lying down and listening to all of you, all of things that were shared, and some things just gave me such big goosebumps. Deidre, you're such an amazing speaker. I was like just admiring just the clarity in which you speak, and I noticed it first at that event, like that in-person event in Vancouver that she spoke in. Love her talks. Yeah, so my sister and I don't know if she's still here. Sarah, if
Yeah,
you're
we
here,
see her.
feel free to chime in.
Here, yeah. Can I just chime in before we get into the stuff about Select? I had like a big moment of gratitude for being on this call, of being surrounded with other entrepreneurs that are in the spiritual kind of realm, and they're not like, go for it, and it's just all about like, sweat, tear, and blood. What did I say?
Push harder.
Yeah, and it's just like filling your own cup first. And even when it comes to motherhood, which is such, I would probably say like the hardest job in the world, where people cannot physically put themselves first before their children. So it was just so beautiful to hear you guys speak about that, and just it makes my heart feel good and makes my heart grow bigger and larger, because it's beautiful to know that there are other people that think like Parisa and I do. And for us, we always come first. Of course, we love our business and what we do, but your own well-being, your own mental health, spiritual health, it always comes first. So yay, thank you for sharing.
Yay. Oh, I love to hear that. That's so good.
That's very sweet.
Yeah, it was a beautiful call where everything just resonated. As for us, we've been the past 2 years, we launched Select. It's a personal development community. I love Crystal at the beginning of the call. You're like, I wanted community, I wanted my tribe, and I wanted to, like, that was the whole purpose and intent. I was telling Shine a little bit how it started for me. It was just, I was just alone on my growth journey, and I felt really alone. Like, I felt like nobody really understands me, or like they don't really care about what I'm going through. And that was self-inflicted, it's probably just my own ideas and limiting beliefs too. But I was just in my own little like hidden shell doing my personal development journey alone. And I had this moment, like this big epiphany, that I'm like, I want to create a massive personal development platform like Facebook. And that's why I felt so connected to you guys, because it was like so similar to Unite, like just the vision, the intent behind it. But that 2 years ago, what started as like a global community, personal development community, where people who are on a conscious growth journey are coming together and going through that journey together, holding each other accountable, every week, like having these open-hearted conversations, these vulnerable conversations, going through their healing all together. That has shifted a little bit, and now we felt more called to do women's circles and to do them in person. So right now, just the past about 2 months, maybe a month and a half, we've started doing in-person women's circles in my living room. And it has been really magical, and it's just been like feeding my soul. Thank you, Deidre. And that's kind of what happened here. Shine reached out randomly. I was like, hey, how have you been? Like, what have you been up to? I'm like, we've been hosting these women's circles. They've been magical. We have space for more people. And now I'm like just getting the word out, because I know that there are so many women who are craving this, just like I was, just like my sister was, just like, you know, women, like we need to be surrounded by each other just to like bask in that feminine energy and to go through our healing, to talk through everything. And it's been a really healing time for me personally, as somebody who was very introverted and like guarded, closed off, now to really open up my heart and connect with people and be loved and be supported through what I would perceive as my own like ugliness has been really profound. So right now, that's what we're working on. Just, yeah, well, we're not working on it right now. It's done. Now we're calling beautiful Vancouver women who are on a conscious growth path to come and join.
Yay.
Love it.
And like Shine said, we're going to be learning more about the details of that tomorrow and having some more conversations as well for other people that want to start these kind of communities and these kind of circles. Obviously, you two are being very successful in what you're doing. And we really, you know, of course, we need so much more of this in the world. So anyone who wants to tune in tomorrow, I think we're starting a little bit later at 7:15 tomorrow, Pacific Standard Time. And we're going to be chatting more about women, the women's circles that they have created, but also through Select, but also, yeah, how we can, you as well can create these kind of community, hold space for community in whatever way works for you. And they've also obviously turned it into a successful business, which is always the piece that is, you know, the sweet spot when we can do what we love and be able to live off of that and to really sustain ourselves as well. So anyone who has questions about that and curious about how they're doing it, how it works, please tune in tomorrow. And I do believe it's starting your next cycle. You do 3-month cycles with your groups, right?
Yes, we do. So we have a free one-off women's circle on the 8th, January 8th, the Sunday. And then the first kind of like round right after that, starting on the 10th, which there's space for like right now.
Nice.
But then we start new circles like regularly. So, but that's like the first one that's coming up.
Nice.
And
that's
to sign up for it.
Tuesday, I believe, right?
Yeah, Tuesday nights. I'll
Nice.
just put in the chat
Yes, please.
for anybody who's interested to join, where to find that. And we'd be so excited to connect.
Yeah, we'll make sure that we include the links for everyone to check it out. And I think this is a new big wave. And like Dee, you were saying too, you know, wanting to kind of get more into that in-person piece that we've all done very well. We should pat ourselves on the back, because I think we are such, especially in the wellness community, we are such people. We do this, all the work we do is hard. Like none of us, it's not like the easy path. It's like it's the work, but it's of course our passion. That's why we're doing it. And I think most of us get so fed by our in-person events and in-person gatherings and getting to connect and share and support each other. And we've all done very well over COVID, not being able to do that. And it's so fun now that we're being able to get back into in-person. So I really applaud you two for starting that wave off at the beginning of the year, providing space. Where in Vancouver is it? I know you'll have those links. Kitsilano, so perfect community. There's lots of lovelies and kits to come join you, and yeah, to be able to meet in person is just such an extra treat. And yeah, we're excited to be getting back into hosting some big Unite events this spring as well. So
I'm excited too. I heard a little bit.
Stay tuned for that. We've been jamming about it for the last little while, and I realized as I was sharing with people, and even just at our New Year's gathering, I realized how much I was pulling my past trauma, not big trauma, but my past trauma about hosting events and my past baggage with me. And I was sharing with someone, and I was like, yeah, this is the problem, and this is hard, and that's hard. And it was lovely to be connecting in a group of spiritual, like-minded people. And they were like, well, is that really true? Or is that, they did a little reality checking, which I so love. And that's such a great tool. And Dee, you were saying in your group and in your women's groups as well, just having people that are willing to, I use the word reality checking, and that's basically just like, is that true, or is that true for me? Because both of those things are true, but one of them is like an actual reality of, water is good for my body because it hydrates me, and another one is events are hard because this and that happens, and that's maybe a true reality for me, but it's not actually, it doesn't need to be that way. That's something I'm pulling along. And it was so helpful to be chatting with people, and they're like, yeah, and like you did your stuff, and some of it was hard, and it doesn't have to be that way this time, and the community's behind you, and we want to see this happen. So I really got jazzed up and excited, and we were calling the venue today, getting dates lined up. So yeah, stay tuned, everyone. And part of what we're doing with the big events is we're really using them to gather all the people that are doing all these projects and really become that kind of center focus hub where we get to link back to everyone else doing all these beautiful, smaller, more intimate, more regular gatherings. So that's really important to us because, of course, one amazing event. Thank you so much for tuning in. So lovely to connect. One amazing event a month is wonderful, but being able to tune in weekly and on a regular basis is also so valuable. So yeah, thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. Oh, it's so sweet. All the love. Yay. Would anyone else like to share about what they're working on in the world, something that Unite could support you with? Feel free to come on camera or just audio. And if not, anytime in any of our groups, we're always so grateful to receive your events, your offerings, and your requests for support. And we'll do our best to help connect you with who you're looking for and help you bring your baby forward. Yeah, so fun. So good. Aw. Yay.
Love Fest.
Right?
Love Fest.
I know, I always find, like, before the Unite calls, I'll often be like in the middle of something, and I'm like a little bit like, oh damn it, okay, I'm gonna like put on some makeup and get the room set up and do some stuff, and then we're gonna do this call, and I feel low energy, and as soon as I get on, and I forget, like my mind forgets that even though it's digital and it's video and I'm not actually getting to see you guys, I still find my energy comes up just hearing from other people, hearing that there's other people in the world doing the things that we're doing, or that have, dreams to have a positive impact in the world. And for everyone too who's tuning in, we keep hearing from people that they're actually watching the replays, which is so exciting. We actually have a new housemate moving in, and she said, I hope you don't mind, before I applied for your room, I actually did some Facebook creeping of you guys, and I ended up spending the whole afternoon watching the Unite show. So that was just such a fun thing to hear, and to hear that this is, not only for the people that are actually on the call, but people are tuning in and getting inspired. And I love that we're holding this space and creating this vortex to ripple out and to be able to share our impact, and that through the power of technology and the internet, we're able to reach people all around the world. So yeah, thanks for being a part of it. Thanks for being a little beacon for people to tune in and feel that sense of tribe and sense of connection. And like you were saying, Parisa, I grew up in Vancouver. I'm not even a transplant from anywhere. I grew up in Vancouver, and I always felt off. I always felt kind of, I could be part of many different communities, but I never felt part of any community. And I was always like, where are my people? Where are the people who think like me and feel like me? And just since like I was a kid, I was like, I want to like change the world. I want to do good in the world. I want to have an impact. And I didn't know what it was, and I didn't know how I was going to do it. And I didn't know anyone else, really, not many other people who had that same call. And it took till I met Shine, and Shine's such an amazing connector and always pulls these, like a magnet pulls the juicy people in, for me to be like, oh, it's the wellness community, it's the spiritual community, it's the people that put like personal and then planet first in their lives. And yeah, I'm so happy to be here in a place to lift up and support. And yeah, so good. And we haven't even talked about our platform this call, because I feel like we've gotten to such great conversations here. So I don't think we'll go too far into it tonight, but that's what we did, is we created a online wellness platform called Unite. You can find it at www.unite.love. And we took our favorite pieces of Facebook and Clubhouse and Amazon and Eventbrite and are basically mixing it all into a one-stop shop for the wellness community. And it's our hope that with this platform, the people on it, the light bringers, the ones that are lit up and have something to offer, will be able to spend less time marketing and promoting themselves and more time doing the things they love, because the people that they're looking for to share their offerings with are all going to be in one spot, lit up, charged up, and excited to connect and to play. And all the people like me and like Parisa who were like, where are my people? We'll be like, this is where my people are. So that's what Unite is. Come check us out. It's free and ad free. Thank you so much, Dee, for joining us. I can't wait to connect in person. And please, if anyone has questions for us for Dee, we're happy to pass them along to you and help you connect with her. And yeah, she's amazing.
And I just want to say thank you for you guys just showing up consistently with your mission and your vision, and having the lighthouse, and bringing your joy and excitement to everything that you're working on. It's really beautiful to see your evolution and see you guys consistently showing up and bringing those high vibes and being in your vortex. And we all have our different vortexes that we bring to the table. I have different medicine than you guys have. And I love that we all can have different approaches to things, and it's all like respected and honored. And like, I love that you guys are about collaboration and co-creation. It's really special. And I love you a lot. I got to run, and thank you for having me. And anyone that wants to reach out, please do. I'd love to connect, and I can't wait to see you guys in soon. Mwah! Bye.
Bye.
Bye, sweetheart. Thank you so much for tuning in. Woohoo! Oh, what a juicy call.
Yes.
So good. Thank you so much, everyone. Do tune in. Actually, we don't have a speaker lined up yet for next week. So if you would like to speak on the Unite show and be a special guest, please do reach out to us and we will line you up. And we also are doing this every week. So if next week doesn't work for you, let us know when. And we're really excited to be sharing anything that you feel like would be of value to this community. So everything from investing and fundraising to website design, to how to build your course, to how to do the emotional work, to relationships. We did some great relationship ones earlier, or I guess last year now. So yeah, just really, we're excited and open to connecting, to collaborating. Co-creation is so much fun, and it makes everyone's life easier, and we all get to play. So thank you for tuning into the Unite show. Thank you for being here, everybody. And I think we're going to sign off for tonight. Have a wonderful week, and we'll see you we'll see you tomorrow, 7 o'clock. Tune in for the next episode, and then we'll be back to Thursday next week. So bye, everybody.
So nice to connect.
Bye.